Hello, it's Talking Transfers, it's John Gibbons, and as ever, we're Paul Gorst, and as ever, we're in the Dugdale Towers. Nice one to Dubby for housing us. Same scenery for us, Paul, but a change of scenery for Liverpool Football Club. They've done 2 weeks of one training camp, and now they've gone to another.
Seamless transition, that, John.
It was good, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. I worked on that on the car over the way here.
Yeah, so Liverpool were in Saffelden, however you pronounce that, where they spent a bit of time last season, or last summer, and now they're in Tiroli, however you say that, not too au fait with the Austrian pronunciation. But yeah, they moved camps, and I think it's been done just because Liverpool, a bit of an unusual one this summer where they're going somewhere for a pre-season training camp, and rather than spend them 5 days or a week, they're there for 28. So I think just to stop the boredom setting in and stop the kind of, looking at the same 4 walls every day, Liverpool are moving on. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive, and I think they arrived there yesterday, was it, or maybe today. And cracking on, here to Berlin Thursday night, and all seems to be going well. Yeah, it seems to be going well. Hearing positive stuff out the camp. Pep Linders is doing these really good training diaries on the club site, which I'd encourage people to read. And obviously Jurgen Klopp, I'm a little chat with James Carroll as well, and a few little things coming out. One of them wants to talk about was the positive steps that Xherdan Van Dijk's taken, and those of us who, I was going to say those of us who are Virgil van Dijk fans, that's absolutely everyone in the world, isn't it? So everyone in the world is going to get to see a little bit of Virgil, we think, on Thursday night. Yes, I mean, Klopp initially said after the game on Friday that he'd be surprised if Gomez or Van Dijk featured. Must have been something that's changed his mind during that time period, because now it looks like he might be getting 15-20 minutes, and it'd just be great to see him, won't it? Yeah. Since he hobbled off sadly at Goodison Park back in the middle of October, it's been a long way for Liverpool fans to see him back in action. Seen so many videos of him. He was obviously in Dubai working on his recovery at the NAS complex, and then being back on Merseyside since about February, working at the Access Centre and getting his first kind of taste of Liverpool's new training ground. And it's been a long wait, hasn't it? So looking forward to seeing him for 15-20 minutes. I don't think it'll be, he certainly won't be starting, I wouldn't imagine, and it's not going to be too much of a taxing workout for him, but just be good for him to get back on the road, isn't it? It's almost like, ticking off boxes. Your first one is your rehab, your second one is back on the pitch, your third one is training with the ball, and then your fourth one is actual friendlies, and then the fifth one is back to competitive action. So he's approaching the fourth of those 5 steps, if you like, and can't wait to see him with one of those raking passes, or winning the ball in the air and just getting back to normal. Yeah, it's going to absolutely go off on the hot mic on Thursday night when Virgil comes on, let me tell you that. Okay, on to transfers then, that's why we're here. And it was interesting because it was a story about Virgil van Dijk that I was reading in The Independent, which Carl Markham wrote, that was largely on this comeback that he just casually threw in at the end of it, that he's led to believe that Liverpool aren't going to be signing anyone else over the summer. Obviously, it caused a bit of a kerfuffle online. Where are you on that, because it was sort of out of step with everything else we've heard from Carl, but we know he's a good journalist and he won't have thrown that in lightly. No, he certainly wouldn't have done, but I would be stunned if Liverpool ended their transfer business here and now with Ibrahim Konate coming in, being announced middle of May, and that was that. I certainly think with all these players who were leaving the club, Marco Grujic, Harry Wilson, Xherdan Shaqiri could be next, Taiwo Awoniyi. Is that how we settled on that one? Yeah. And maybe 1 or 2 others as well. I certainly think if all these players are leaving, then it might be a case of Liverpool kind of clearing the decks, seeing where they're up to in terms of the homegrown quotas and what numbers they've got to play around with there, and taking it from there. We know that they're drawing up shortlists, they always do. Midfielders, forwards, they're certainly, I'd be confident that Liverpool are still going to do some business before the end of this year, whether that's a forward and a midfielder, or maybe both. I still certainly think there's business to be done before the transfer window closes. Yeah, I'd be shocked if they don't do any more, and I think it'll be 1 or 2 more, and I think, who that is, we'll have to wait and see. But one name that's been linked again recently, and he's one who's resurfaced, I guess, because a couple of windows in a row, well, at least he's been linked with Liverpool, is Ismaila Sarr from Watford. We know that Jurgen Klopp likes him. He's talked about him in the past. We know that he's well liked generally sort of within the Liverpool transfer team. Normally you'd say a club being promoted wouldn't sell one of their best players sort of coming into it, but of course Norwich have already done that. And Watford maybe might think that, have a look at it and think, well, in terms of what we need to do, getting in a decent fee for someone, might help them do what they feel they need to do to stay up. Yeah, possibly, but I think it's a difficult one with Sarr because there's certainly interest. You know, Liverpool were really keen on him last summer and actually spoke to Watford around the same time they signed Jota. You know, Liverpool, you know, once kind of a target has been identified as someone that they want to speak to the club about, it all moves quite quickly, and Liverpool spoke to Wolves around about the same time they spoke to Watford. Watford were, or rather Wolves were very much more accommodating in terms of the negotiation process with Jota and what could be done in terms of when certain fees were paid and whatever. I believe Watford were just 40 million straight up, and that was what they wanted. And I think Liverpool were taken aback a little bit by that because Watford had just been relegated from the Premier League, and normally when that happens there's a chance to lean on the club a little bit and kind of take advantage of it, but Watford had none of it, were demanding 40 million and that was it, and Liverpool moved on. So for Liverpool to actually pick up the phone to Watford, that tells you that there's enough interest in the recruitment team and with Klopp and Michael Edwards that doesn't require too much of a leap of faith for that to potentially be revisited. I think what the issue would be Watford, if they weren't in a position where they had to sell last summer, they're not going to be this summer with the Premier League money coming into their coffers. So he's a player who's liked at Liverpool. I think he's still only 22, 23, he can play right across that front line as Senegal international.
Yeah.
But the issue was probably Watford don't really need to sell, certainly any more than they did last summer when they were demanding 40 million straight up and Liverpool moved on.
Alright the Reds, thanks for watching a little bit of a premium Anfield Wrap video there. If you want to watch the rest of that show and get access to much more, click join below. That activates our YouTube membership. It means you get a premium video every day of the week. You get our post-match content, you get reviews, previews and exclusive interviews, all here from the heart of Liverpool. Follow us, follow them. Up the Reds.